This is a man who has had a distinguished public life when you stop and think about it. Vice President, President of the United States, father of another President of the United States, CIA Director, Ambassador to China, Ambassador to the United Nations.
That he's an incredibly capable man who has handled every task that the country has called upon him with great class and dignity.
He's an extraordinarily caring individual. He's the most considerate and kind and thoughtful person I've ever known in my life. And you can talk to a lot of people about George H.W. Bush and they'll all tell you the same thing.
George H.W. Bush was appointed CIA director precisely at the worst time in the agency's entire history.
This was a particularly tough time because the CIA was under extraordinary attack. You'd had the church hearings, the Pike hearings. The CIA was held in minimal low regard around the country because of the nature of those hearings. It was a really tough time for the agency.
Well, this made all the papers. We were the nation's villain, I guess.
This is the story of a 30-year search by U.S. intelligence agencies to perfect mind control.
It was a terrible time. Congress had it in for the agents.
Why did you do this? Why did you do that? We found this. Tell us about that.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed.
As a murder instrument, that's about as efficient as you can get, isn't it?
It is a weapon, a very serious weapon.
In 1975, George H.W. Bush was the senior U.S. representative in Beijing when President Ford asked him to lead CIA. Bush was a loyal public servant, highly regarded, but he was also a politician with political ambitions. And this appointment posed a problem for him. His friends and political counselors advised against it.
I felt that he ought not to take it. I thought he was sort of being consigned to political oblivion. But he said, listen, Jimmy, he said, this is an important job. It's a job I want to do. It's a job the president wants me to do, and I'm going to take it if I can get confirmed.
I'm doing a lot of briefing, reading some of the hearings from previous directors, questioning rather soft compared to what I expect I'll be running into. It's funny how the Mayo reflects the different moods. Some say they're shoving you into a meat grinder, a dead end, getting rid of you politically. We don't like it. Destroy you. Others are saying they think it's great. I'll be damned if I know right now which is which.
Certain senators were reluctant to confirm a politician in a non-political position. They were playing politics. They wanted him to agree not to run as vice president on the Ford ticket in 1976.
He said, no, I'm not willing to do that. I shouldn't be asked to forswear my political birthright simply to be confirmed by the Senate for a job that I think, at least, I'm well qualified to do. And then they worked out a compromise, and that compromise was that President Ford would say, okay, you confirm him, and I will agree not to pick him as my vice president.
Welcome, George.
Welcome to the CIA. Thank you for
I remember that day very well. It was an uncommonly warm January day in 1976 when George H.W. Bush arrived at the CIA headquarters to take over as the director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
On which I am about to enter.
So help you God.
So help me God.
In his first remarks as director of Central Intelligence, Bush said that we must learn from the past, but focus on the tasks ahead.
Restoration of public confidence is essential if we are to get on about our important work here. But the emphasis now will be on the future. And because of its dedicated people, this agency is the finest intelligence agency in the world. They will have my total support, and I'll work hard at that. We are not in the policy business. We'll call them as we see them, and we'll be objective in our estimates. I'm determined to protect those things that must be kept secret, and I am more determined to protect those unselfish and patriotic people who, with total dedication, serve their country, often putting their lives on the line, only to have some people bent on destroying this agency expose their names. This must stop, and I'll do my level best to play a role in that. I want this job. I want to do it well, and I'm proud to be a part of the CIA. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, we got to go to work.
CIA needed his leadership. Morale was plummeting. Dad knew how important the intelligence world is to for the security of the country and for the White House to be able to make good decisions. He also knew how to boost people's spirits, and turns out he was a perfect fit for the job.
That was the essence of George Bush and how he did things. He was not out to upend the agency, he was there to help heal it.
It was important to end it, and he ended it in a graceful manner, a deliberate manner, to say, enough, we need to move on.
George Bush came in at a very difficult time for the agency, and I think he had a calming effect.
I think he felt like he had to prove to the agency that he was one of them. He could have had an office right near the president, but he said, no, I'm not going to take an office in the old EOB. I'm going to take an office at Langley because it's important for the crew out there to see me as one of them and to know that I've got their back. And George Bush is nothing if not loyal. He believes in loyalty up, loyalty down.
He would actually go visit people in their offices, coming to see the analysts, the case officers, the real people, the little guys like me, that makes the agency work. And he wanted to tell us the message is nobody's going to mess with you anymore.
What is happening here is I'm getting my 20-year pin. It's not a medal or anything, it's just my 20-year pin. Well, usually you got it from your division chief. This is from the Director of Central Intelligence. That's the kind of thing he did. That helped the healing right down to the first floor.
He's a good manager. He hires good people, gives them the authority to get the job done, and then expects them to do the job. And that, after all, I think is what leadership is all about.
He shares credit, takes blame. He won't compromise the principles that he thinks are important in order to advance his own career. People like working for him because they like him.
People's morale changed because we knew he was in charge and we knew he was going to defend us, and he did defend us a number of times.
Bush was not only winning the confidence of CIA employees, he was raising public confidence in the agency by speaking out very frankly about the realities of intelligence.
Do you think Congress has the authority, should have the authority to release secret material?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I don't think that any branch, that the legislative branch of government should unilaterally be empowered to release secret documents. I simply don't feel that way. We cannot run an intelligence business on that kind of basis, and part of it's secret, and I'm going to see that it stays secret.
This is the character of this man. That's when he says, I know this is right. This is the right thing to do.
He understood the importance of the intelligence community and the importance of good intelligence.
And that 1 year, unfortunately, went by so fast, but it made such a difference because of him and his personality.
I think we expected him to be continued in office because we thought he'd done a good job. So we were disappointed.
Bush was CIA director for only 51 weeks, but he left a lasting impression on CIA as he went on to be vice president and president. He always valued the range of CIA products, especially the PDB, the President's Daily Brief.
And everybody associated with the vice president's office understood the value that he put on those intelligence briefings. And as a former DCI, the importance that he attached to those briefings.
One of the most fascinating aspects of the job was to be briefed by CIA analysts on any subject that the President wants to learn about. I learned that from my dad.
You would not find an instance, in my view, in the 12 years that he was vice president and president, that he did not have his morning briefing from the agency, and he really valued that.
Former Director Bush never forgot his time at CIA, and the agency didn't forget him. When he came back, he was a rock star, and he came back often.
Always, he always came back. He always came back to see us as vice president and as president.
And he obviously, he wasn't forgotten. That sign outside, that's a tribute to George Bush as director.
In 1999, legislation was passed naming the CIA compound after George H.W. Bush, and the agency made it a special occasion.
I know that I speak for every man and woman in this place today when I say, welcome home, George and Barbara Bush. It's great to have you back.
Just this past weekend in my hometown newspaper, in fact, a CIA official was quoted as saying and speculating as to what kind of response President Bush would receive today. It will be like Elvis has returned. The king is here. And as many of you may not know, he was also the first agency head to take the employee elevator to his office every morning rather than the director's private elevator.
Thank you for those overly kind remarks. And I would have used the other elevator, but I was here such a short time I didn't know it was there. They hid it from me. I told Barbara that all of this hoopla was a little overwhelming, and all I can say is that the gratitude in my heart literally knows no bounds. I left here some 22 years ago after a limited tenure, that my stay here had a major impact on me. CIA became part of my heartbeat back then, and it's never gone away. It is an honor to stand here and be counted among you. Thank you very, very much.
He's later said on many occasions that it was the most engaging time he'd ever had in public service. He loved being the director of the CIA.
He relished every moment of being in the agency, and still thinks very fondly of his time there.
He has a special spot in his heart for the agency. It was important to him at the time. It was important to him throughout his subsequent service in the federal government as vice president and president, and it's still important to him, and I know that for a fact.